I had to go up and down the stairs all night every time somebody wanted another drink.
Yeah, number 7 says no service areas, bars, or preparation stations shall be permitted on the rooftop.
I agree with that. It's just, you know, that creates a gray area where all of a sudden, you know, you have people standing next to it, and then you're gonna have somebody from code up there making sure that nobody's standing next to the bar and getting served. It's just
Where do you put the dirty dishes?
downstairs.
So, throw it on the ridge.
I'll catch it.
Dumb waiter.
Yeah, I mean, that's how they do it, they're a dumb waiter.
Well, they fill the bus bucket, and the bus bucket carries it down the stairs.
Where does the bus bucket sit?
It sits on one of those folding things.
Downstairs.
The bus bucket has to be up at the rooftop restaurant to collect the plates.
Yeah, but they take like the luggage thing that you get when you go to a hotel, they unfold it and they put that on top.
It sits at the service bar.
Not necessarily. The service bars, you know, is to, as Trustee Crean was trying to indicate, that not to have an area where it becomes an area of congregate, even if you're only being serviced for a drink, accessibility to a drink is.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of a service bar is that the bartender serves to the wait staff, not to the public. And then the wait staff can take the drink and take it over to the people at the table. Not that you get up from the table and go to the service bar and order a drink, you can't do that. That's what a service bar is, so. I'm just saying from a practical matter, if I was a restaurateur, I would find this kind of onerous.
I think the concept is that rooftop dining is a privilege, and because it is an imposition on the community. And I think that the concept is if you're willing to burden the community with that, there are certain restrictions that have to go along with it.
Now, I haven't gone rooftop dining in a long time. You might have not, or do they have a service bar up there, up on these places that?
I haven't been to most of the places in the city.
Not the one I was at, Newport, it was designed a little, it was in like on a corner piece of property, so, and there were building walls, so there was just like a little alcove where you kind of went through and went down the stairs, so there was no, everything that needed to be served was carried up and down the stairs. Nothing was prepared, there was no bar upstairs at all. So,
I think it'd be impossible to enforce.
if you had a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we see some abuse that goes on and it pales compared to,
Well, you know, rooftop dining, it sounds very romantic and interesting. What doesn't interest me is rooftop drinking, rooftop music. You know, I mean, you gotta figure, you know, it's, if you were down to months now, there are gonna be people living on Main Street who are gonna have to listen to the rooftop music and the rooftop loudness and you know, it just makes me a little nervous about what it can turn to. For instance, if you have a bar that serves food, what do you do? I mean, people are still going to be drinking up there, whether they're sitting at a bar or they're not sitting at a bar. They're going to be ordering drinks. And, you know, we're going to be in New Orleans. And we don't have rooftops that are 8 stories high, where the noise is not traveling down to the street. You know, we're going to have rooftops that are 1 story high, and the noise is going to be right down there, and it's going to travel down to Jane Avenue and other streets around the village, you know, with noise. That's my concern. You know, I mean, altogether, I mean, I'm not for it at all. I don't think we need it. I don't know if the restaurants need it to compete or to survive. I don't have a good feeling about it myself. It's my own personal opinion on that. Any other questions from the board, any comments?
You know, just one other comment. It's just, you know, it's a restaurant and it's for dining, right? They don't want to turn the tables over. So if you finish with your meal, they're not going to let you just hang out and drink all night. You know, they don't want to turn that table over, I imagine. So it's just, It'll be an interesting concept. I think it'd be something worth giving a try, and if it doesn't work out, you could always rescind that special permit, so.
Now, what would this special permit go for, a year?
Yeah, the proposal is 1 year. And again, it'd be renewed by automatically if it's in compliance, if there's an issue, perhaps maybe you get a trustee firm, get a report from the chief building inspector as to what the status is, and violations, if any, or concerns, adjust them, and have them come in with a special permit.
And again, like everything, it's a matter of enforcement and hoping that the restaurant owners keep that in mind and do the right thing.
You know, if you're in favor of it, I don't think the 1 year is realistic. Oh, they would have to get the permit before they start a building, or even before they started the planning stage, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't start if they didn't know if they were gonna get the permit or not.
Yeah, they would submit a site plan to the building inspector, would review it, and he drafts a recommendation to the planning board. The planning board would then you have a hearing with the planning board, and once that's approved by the planning board, then it will be issued by the building inspector.
And how long would it take to build it?
Is the restaurant door?
From the time that the permit's issued?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you can have it
Yes, they're
contingent, you can have the special permit start when they get the CO in
Right, like a
space.
CO.
Right, okay.
So
That's what I was
that's-
looking for. That's-
Oh, yeah, so, eat up time on.
Right.
I just wanted to say, and just addressing some of Jack's concerns, but I think that the time constraints will help that immensely, that we can't do anything on the roof after 11 on the weekends. But I thought that 9 PM for the weeknights was a little bit early, because from a realistic standpoint, a lot of people go out to dinner at 8:30, even on weeknights.
Well, but like
By 10 it could be done. It's just,
Brian said, that they're there, it's a privilege for them to be up there. And what time does the music come up on the river? 9, right?
Right on Sundays.
Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah. People should be consistent with that.
I mean, in summertime, it doesn't get dark almost until 9 o'clock, so it's like,
Yeah.
I just don't think it's realistic, because people go out 8 o'clock, like you said, it's August, you wanna go upstairs at 9 o'clock, they're gonna come to the table, you have to go downstairs.
Have there been any issues with the outside dining on a couple of the Main Street restaurants? I don't
I don't think
recall
so.
any problems with that.
No.
I guess the sound probably different when it's up high, but
But I don't think when you're not, if you're not having music or
that's
anything
what
after 5.
that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to be.
All right, comments from the public? Yes, Jessica?
I gotta climb over. Josephine Miller, 276 North Avenue. We're talking about a rooftop deck, and before, you said, if somebody wanted to put a rooftop deck, I think you used the example of Parallel. Now, would that be considered new construction, or would it be considered an addition?
Well, it's a synonym, but it'd be the same. The result would be the same, it would be considered.
So, but you said new construction doesn't get the credit. So would they be getting the credit?
Retail new construction would get the credit. New construction would not get the retail credit, so they would not get the credit for that now.
So for using your example of Parabel, if Parabel put a rooftop deck and they had to come up with some money, they would not be getting the retail credit.
Correct.
Okay. So they would have to pay the $1,600?
15.
15. Huh. Peanuts.
Per space,
First base.
I'm sorry?
Per space.
per required space.
Per space.
Yes.
Okay, that's a little bit different. You mentioned that sometimes, they're mostly compliant, but sometimes they thumb their noses at us. And not just sometimes, often. We're talking about a special permit of 1 year. So if at the end of 1 year, they have violations or whatever, and they're denied the special permit, what do you think will happen? What happened when the planning board denied the request for a rooftop deck. They sued. So it makes a special permit almost meaningless. You know, the fact of the matter is, we shouldn't be grateful to them for coming to Patchogue. We act like we're very grateful. They should be grateful to us. They're very prosperous. And one of the reasons they're prosperous is that the village has been willing to, well, I'm not going to say turn a blind eye, because no. But we certainly have twisted and turned and accommodated ourselves because we wanted businesses to come in. But their pockets have swelled. The village coffers have not swelled because these businesses have come in. They've made the money. We haven't. The residents have not gotten any tax breaks because of the businesses. So, yes, I think we want to encourage them, but I think we have to be realistic about this too. Tom, you said it'd be nice to have music. Jeff, I think you made a very good point. Oh my God, this music up there, the surrounding residents, believe me, I know. I know what it would be like for the residents. I think this is something that you're smiling. You know too, you were right on the river. I think, this is something that should be very, very carefully looked at. And I don't think a special permit, well, I think we should have it, I don't think it's much protection, they'll just sue. And it blows my mind, why have a planning board if they make a decision and then we're sued? And basically I would suspect that this is why this is being considered, because of the suit to the planning board. So my question is, and then I'll sit down, who runs the village?
Thank you. Any other comments?
Go ahead.
Mr. Bojack?
I think I'll be quicker than Joel.
Yeah.
Hey, I resent that.
Oh, Joel.
Oh.
She doesn't resent that.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings, but generally, it's good to have rooftop dining. It's an expansion of what's happening in the village. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I agree with Mr. Egan, though, it is a privilege. No one's forcing any of these businesses to expand in that form or fashion. I was present at the planning board. I recall the planning board, the zoning board. I heard the plan of the public house, greatly different from the plan we may adopt tonight. That did include music. That was a lounge area. There would have been no restrictions. It was a wonderful idea, but I think that it was fraught with dangers, which this legislation really does address. I would suggest to the board that the restrictions you place or thinking about placing should remain. Policy of the village should be safety first. Go for a year, see what happens, see if people do throw things off the fencing, off the railing, or they don't. Instead of letting that opportunity take place first. I think it should be the other way around. That way the village isn't implicated in any kind of dangerous situations as well. Let's get a track record and see what happens when you have rooftop dining. Until that track record exists and you can, someone from the businesses come and say, listen, we want bottles, we want glass, we want metal this and metal that, and we haven't had any incidents, then that's a more credible argument. Your responsibility isn't to promote, the bottom line of those businesses is to promote safety in the village, ultimately, particularly where this is a privilege and not a right. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Joel Furman. I presently don't have any restaurant tenants. I may have some prospects. When they do come to look at 18 West Main, which is about 9,500 square feet, we've got about 2,000 square feet. That's one story to the rear that faces the parking lot. They ask, rooftop dining? It's always an issue. So I have to refer them to what's happened with your East Main Street situation. So it's a possibility. I may have a tenant that wants to do rooftop dining. I'm not against it. It poses a hazard, poses a lot of hazards. I think since the employer has been here, my biggest fear is when I'm leaving the law office on a Friday night, Saturday night. It's rare that I don't encounter a car that is driving head-on towards me in my lane with the lights out. It's also rare to go home without following somebody that never even thinks about stopping for a stop sign when you go on the back way, on the south way. So there's hazards everywhere. I think the hazards that's posed by rooftop dining is minor in contrast to what's happening now. And I don't see any improvements as far as the vehicle control is concerned in the area in the evenings. It's a problem. But at least with the rooftop dining, you've got something that's under the control of not only the tenant, but also the landlord, and also the insurance company. It's gonna be tough to get insurance if you have any incidents. And I'm sure that's a major concern for the tenant and the landlord. So let's leave it to them. Let's leave it to the private enterprise. I'm in favor of Mr. Ferb, and also Ms. Devlin, their comments. Let them do what they want to do as far as the articulation of what they're going to serve, whether it's going to be hard china, whether it's going to be wine bottles, which is probably a necessary evil. I don't know too many people that like to pay the high price for a bottle of wine and not get to see what bottle this wine's coming out of.
Out of a paper cup,
Exactly.
coming to my house.
So, and as far as the noise is concerned, if you call it noise, music can be subdued also, especially if you're trying to create a quote romantic atmosphere on the rooftop dining. I'm sure it's probably appealable under all circumstances and all hours, whatever hours the service is allowed on the rooftop. If you want to come visit me with your hot chocolate or coffee, come on over anytime, day or night, and I'll set some chairs up in the back of my building, and we'll listen to the chimes as the doors close on the Long Island Railroad. So noise does travel, sound travels. It's a given. If you're going to live in a municipal village of Patchogue, you're going to have to consent to that. 291 apartments, North Ocean Avenue. You're going to have to consent with what's coming out of the windows when those windows are open. You're going to have a lot of tenants. You're going to have a lot of noise. May even be louder than the music that's surrounding the area. Maybe it's going to be party and festive. I hope so. I don't know. There's elements everywhere that we have to contend with, but it's an acceptance that you consider when you come into the area. And as I said, I'm in favor of the rooftop dining idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anyone else? Further comments by the board?
Hours, will we settle hours?
That's one question. So I think that it's written for
The
11 and 10.
11 o'clock on Saturday.
Friday and Saturdays, and
Everyone's
written for
okay
10
with that, right?
on Sunday to Thursday. Trustee Hilton was suggesting maybe 9 o'clock.
No,
I mean, to Jerry's point, I mean, 10 o'clock, the sun's still up.
Yeah,
So,
I was familiar with
So the only change that stands now is that number 7, I'm sorry, number 8 would be deleted.
And 8 is what again, Chris?
8 is the elimination of the prohibition on glassware.
Paper cup.
All right, so bottles can go up there and,
I mean, they can use whatever utensils and silverware and plates that they, wine glasses and beer glasses and beer bottles. Not restricting what they serve, the stuff they serve.
Just that the service must come from inside.
Has to come from inside. With parachute.
and music is still prohibited.
Every year I have to come back.
Then the question is, also, is how much you want to set the special permit fee for. You don't have to do that tonight, I'm sure there's going to be applications that are going to come, but you may want to consider that at the next meeting, think about it. what the permit fee should be and how.
We don't have to do that today.
No. You do it in 2 steps. You do it next week.
All right, so we can maybe do a little research on
Yes.
what other municipalities charge, or you think would be a fair fee. And would that be a fee, a yearly fee?
Yes.
You come with the permit?
It will come with the permit, so it'll be yearly. If the board later want to change it to biannual, once things calm down or longer, you can make it clear like that.
Now, I would assume that something like this there's health department
Oh, sure.
regulations about this. We're covered in all that?
Yes.
I assume?
Number 12, all applicable requirements of the federal, state, and village law applies. We can't leave that. We don't have the jurisdiction.
Any other comments? Get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
As amended.
As
As
amended.
amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposed? Trustee Keys? Is that it, Madam Clerk, for public hearings?
That is it.
How about that? Okay. Mr. Kennedy? Is he still awake? With a brief report?
Very brief, we'll keep it moving. If it's all right, of course, though, I do have a little gift for everybody up there.
And
I
thank
like
you
to
for your
pass
help.
around. It's definitely less than $75, so I think I'm
Oh,
not
is
causing
that
any trouble. Let's the attorney,
Do you know how hungry we are right now?
exactly, I figured after a long
You know I
public
didn't have dinner.
hearing,
Who's
and
having this now? Right?
exactly, and let the public know, what I'm presenting the board is a Hershey bar wrapped in a special wrapper from the Chamber of Commerce. This is a promotion that we'll be doing this year. Anybody spending $25 or more in our, some of our participating stores will be, will get in a Hershey bar. So as a way to say thank you to our shoppers this year. That's something our business promotions committee is doing. And continuing on that theme, obviously the holidays are in, and really now in full swing with Thanksgiving coming up this week. I do want to obviously continue to promote what the mayor has been talking about the last few meetings, that this Wednesday, November the 27th, 7 p.m. at the Temple Bethel, is the interfaith service that all our denominations, all our churches get together for one service for the community. It is a special night, a special event, and it really kind of starts the holiday in the right frame of mind. 7 o'clock at the Temple. All right, then coming the weekend is really when things really get in high gear in this community with the holidays. Saturday, November 30th, as I've talked about previous, is Small Business Saturday. And just to let everybody know, I hope you've seen the media on it, thanks to the great coverage in the Long Island Advance this past week. We're going to have a trolley service from Bellport to Patchogue. There'll be 2 trolleys, one leaving each and going back and forth from each location. At each location, they'll be leaving their spots on the hour between 12 and 5. So 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. The Patchogue trolley stop is going to be located at the parking lot, Oak Street end of the Patchogue Theater walkway. We'll be setting up a little booth there. Everybody that gets off the trolley will get a gift shopping bag with little promotional gift items and some extra coupons, as well as the special coupon booklet that's been created by our sponsors, highlighting all the great sales in town. The St. Joseph College Sharps, the Glee Club, will be caroling on the street, and the Tri-Valley Brass Band, who happens to be also marching in the parade later that evening, is going to do a performance from 2 to 4 at Capital One Bank Plaza. So it's going to be a great event, a lot of fun. The weather's looking like 40 degrees and sunny right now, so it's a great time to do your holiday shopping. Forget about all this shopping on Thanksgiving night. Even that crazy Black Friday stuff, avoid it all. Do your shopping on Saturday. Shop till you drop in Patchogue and Belfort this Saturday. And of course, following our event is the parade. I'm sure Bill will be speaking about that a little bit later. It's the Santa Claus parade. Bring your letters for Santa Claus. And right after that is, right immediately, is the tree lighting. I do want to give a shout out to Kathleen Geyer and the Geyer family, who lived just outside the village, but did donate a tree from their property. That is the tree that is now at Capital One Plaza. I want to give thanks to our DPW staff who set the tree up and got it all lit and with the decorations on. Joe was a pleasure to work with, and he did a real nice job. Kerry in particular. Well, Joe D. And you as well. I didn't have to deal with you on that. I never had to make one phone call to you, Joe. I'm sure you would have done a great job. But I'll give props to Joe D right now, since he was the one I actually talked to about it. And then following the ceremonies on Saturday, Sunday, December the 1st, 5 o'clock, Capital One Plaza, will be the menorah lighting as we usher in Hanukkah as well. All right, another important date, Wednesday, December the 4th, Plaza Mac. And this is particularly for business owners. And I do ask the media to pick this up as well, because my reach obviously is the chamber members, but this is something that is open to all business owners in the downtown area. We will have a seminar about the new parking meters and how the business owners can use it as a marketing tool for their business and how they work and how you could make your patrons actually have a more pleasant shopping experience by interacting directly with the meter. So that's 8 to 10 a.m. at Plaza Mac, and we thank Plaza Mac for donating their space to us for that day, that morning, as there will be a presentation that Jack, Deputy Mayor Krieger, had set up for us. I do want to highlight Thursday, December the 5th, one of our village businesses, Tall Tree Florist. Even though they've been around for a long period of time, they've redesigned their whole store, they've revamped the way the store looks, and they'd like to do a grand reopening ribbon cutting to kind of highlight some of the new services and some of the new departments that they've created there. So that's Thursday, December the 5th at 5 p.m. at Tall Tree Florist. Will be a reintroduction of the new designs that they've had there. Sunday, December 8th is the Kiwanis' 5K Santa Trot under a new route this year that's going to take people through the south part of Patchogue in the neighborhood and be less disruptive for the traffic thanks to Trustee Hilton's designing the track. The Chamber's working with the Kiwanis. We'll probably set up a booth there, and we are working with our restaurants and our businesses to create some specials because it looks like it's going to be like 1,000 runners for this race, and we want to make sure they stick around in town and come up to Main Street afterwards. So we're going to be working with them on that. And the last thing I'll talk about is just we've got a nice little interesting concept for the Chamber of Commerce Christmas party this year. It's going to be Thursday, December the 12th, and we're doing something that is commonly called in the circles as a progressive dinner, where you kind of visit different spots. And we figured Main Street Patchogue really lends itself for that with so many beautiful and wonderful fine places, very close to each other. So what we're doing for Christmas party this year is that we're going to start a cocktail hour at Bellavino at 6. We'll move on to the VIP lounge for appetizers at 7. We'll do dinner at 8 at Public House, 49. And then go back across the street to Very Good for our dessert. And the VIP lounge is actually going to set up a little cordial bar at Very Good for us too, for those who like the after dinner drinks. So it's only $50 a person. It's a full dinner, a drink at each location included in the price. And we invite everybody to come along because I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'll hold back. I know there's been a lot of talk about New Year's Eve. I know Trustee Crean will probably address that in his report. I'll certainly remain here if any questions come by or any other comments from me, but I'll let Jerry kind of fill everybody in around with that. And unless anybody's got any questions.
How'd it go last night? A little bit about the boat.
Oh, thank you. I've reminded me of that. I'm like, what was last night? Oh yeah, I was freezing my butt off yesterday. That's right. The boat parade went pretty well, considering how horrendous the conditions were for the boaters. We did have 25 boats that started. A few of the boaters, after being out there, realized it wasn't the best conditions and did have to pull out of the parade. But many of them still did. We did have, it was difficult for them to get down, but there was no incidents. We did have a couple of hundred people who braved the cold weather. They did come out to the shoreline at each of the locations. So overall, it was a great event. The people who came down enjoyed it, and the boaters who participated enjoyed it as well. The Dublin Deck was the name of the boat from Dublin Deck, from Harbor Crab, and they were the boat that won the best for most outstanding boat in the parade this year.
I saw the parking lot of the Aura at about 4:30, and
Yeah.
there were jammed.
It was, no, the restaurants were jammed, absolutely, the restaurants were jammed. I mean, I was really expecting, I was at Finn's, where I was stationed, to do my duties, and, I was expecting 5 people, and really to see a few hundred people to show up in that weather, and it was, Sandspit was the same thing, and it was even windier down there, obviously. To see a few hundred people, it just shows you, how much people love that parade. It's actually in its 20th year now, and it's, definitely a big tradition, and last night proved it that much more. Anybody else, any questions?
Real
Oh,
quickly,
sure.
on Small Business Saturday, right? If you register your American Express card and you make a purchase at many of our downtown locations with that card, American Express will give you $10.
Absolutely, that's an excellent point, thank you for bringing it up, Todd. That's a great, you have to register the card, you have to do it beforehand.
And
So-
they'll give you $10.
And they'll get, exactly, so it's a free $10 that you get to spend. All you gotta do is go online to the American Express site and register your card. Thank you
And
very much.
you'll be very happy to see the list of stores.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And basically every store in Main Street accepts American Express.
It's just,
Yeah. Any other questions? Enjoy the game.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
What about the Holiday House tour for the garden club?
Oh, okay, sure, I mean, I'll plug, and thank you for that. I should have, December the 7th is the.
December 8th.
8th, oh, it's a Sunday, I
From
apologize.
1 to
Oh, Saturday.
5.
December the 8th, 1 to 5 is the Gardens Club's annual house tour, or holiday house tour. And I thank Josephine, a member of the club, for
Which
reminding
this
me.
year includes some of the walks in art space, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Art Space is
And
on the
4
tour,
other houses?
and they will have their craft show and sale, and refreshments will be served.
And how many other houses besides art space?
5 houses,
Okay.
5 nice houses,
Great.
very nice
We
houses.
did, every bag we're handing out does have a flyer about the Garden Club.
We were gonna
so-
come on Friday and stuff.
Yeah, we already started stuffing the bags
Okay.
today, so
So
it's
do you
in
need us
there.
on Friday?
No, you don't have to come, I'm not gonna be there Friday.
free cookies.
All right, trustee Keating?
I'm sorry. Yes.
You're on the thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm first.
I
Sorry,
mean, you don't
John.
have to show.
You are, Jack, you are first. You are number 1.
What I'd like to do is, I guess, ask approval for the sale of town hall. Brady, can you explain a little bit about that?
We've been actively involved in discussions with the town in regard to an offer that was made. It's the town's property, the village has a converter on it. I believe this resolution came up before on an original sale. This is a new sale that got started. This is a last minute request from the town attorney's office. Just we have to, as a board, resolve to approve the sale. Again, we've had extensive discussions about requirements that the village would want. We only have to get a reverter interest, but to preserve the Cotton Beech tree out front, preserve the facade as it stands, preserve the marble balcony, marble staircase, the mural inside, the old phone booth inside, all of those would be preserved and in sight. Did I miss anything? The parking lot development for across the street on Baker.
Now, the village doesn't get money for this, right?
No.
It goes right to the town.
But it will go on the tax rolls when it's
Correct.
developed, and we'll get approximately 20 grand.
No, I don't think, the only monetary result is that we're gonna get the,
When it's on the tax rolls.
oh, it's a tax
Annual-
basis, sure.
Annual tax,
I don't know what the tax is.
I think it's about $20,000.
And do we know what the proposed buyer is going to do with it?
Offices, medical,
Offices?
Would you like me to talk about it, Chuck?
Go ahead, Jack.
and you know.
It, something I've been involved in quite intimately for the last 2 years and had numerous meetings with the buyer. Contrary to the way it was reported in the advance, the property is not in contract at the moment. We're hoping to get it into contract. The prospective buyers have an interest in converting the property into a medical office building. And they have very strong interest in making all of the preservations of the historical characters that Village Attorney Egan has just outlined, but it's been a very challenging negotiation from day one, and initially somewhat reluctant by the town to actually get into a contract to sell the property. We've had a change in administration over there, and while we were very close with Supervisor Lesko, there were some challenges that were put in front of the prospective buyers that caused them to walk away. So after many months of escorting other people through the property and making lowball offers to the town, we actually reached out to the original people that had an interest, and were able to facilitate additional meetings with the town and the mayor. So it's very exciting prospects to get that building reactivated, but it'll be a great amenity to the village, provide great services to our residents and the surrounding area. But I have to thank Attorney Egan for his help in being so persistent with the town, and I'm looking forward to the day in which it actually enters into contract. So I'd like to, second that motion from Deputy Mayor and continue to move this thing forward. So it's very exciting.
And that also includes parking lot?
One of the components is that there is a vacant lot that's on Baker Street that's owned by the town. It is not part of the, Lot 10 is not part of the sale to the developer, but one of the requirements that the town would require is that, conditions the town would require is the development of that parking lot. And that keep access to the public parking lot.
And the village would maintain it?
Yes.
Town would create the parking lot, or the village would?
The developer would actually develop the
Okay.
parking lot.
And then the village would
Maintain it.
maintain it, plow it, and
Yes.
stripe it and all that.
Correct.
I'd like to- Can I make a suggestion about the tree, or can we do that? So,
Well, the tree's gonna be preserved, there's gonna be details in
okay.
it.
The tree, but might down the road, because trees of that age, of that type, succumb to a blight. So if it were to get to a condition, could we put something in that would have to be evaluated by the village arborist?
Sure.
Because I have a feeling that tree probably doesn't happen in maybe 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, they go fast when they start to
Oh,
grow. It's
okay.
happened in Newport a lot lately. So I hate to see it go, but it might get to a point where that's something that.
Okay, that's a good suggestion.
Brian, a comment on the mural. The mural could be moved.
Could be what?
Moved. There's a mural in our library that was moved there. Okay, the mural in this building could be moved, and it could be moved to the Carnegie Library.
It's like,
Well,
Doesn't matter. The preservationists can do anything.
Trustee Creed and I have been inside that building and seen that the inside is deplorable and the mural is in magnificent condition. It was astounding.
Well,
that
they did a
just
good job.
restored it and then remounted it in the spot, and the building is, if I say haunted house, it's to be, generous. But the mural was in perfect condition, so, maybe that is a better relocation, but that's, one of the elements is to make sure that mural is
It's
preserved.
preserved, yeah, but maybe not necessarily in place.
Excuse me one second.
I think you got your motion in a second.
We did, Jerry second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Well, look forward to having a new tenant here in Patchogue, and good job, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. I'd like to set a public hearing to what would the term be, Brian?
Prohibit hookah lounges? or
Prohibit.
bars?
To consider prohibiting hookah lounges in the village of Patchogue, or is that,
Yes.
am I correct there?
That's correct.
What is that?
And they sit with, like, in Alice in Wonderland with a big pipe in the water.
It's on the roof?
All right, so.
Like, set a
Is that a
public hearing?
motion?
Make a motion to set a
Second.
public hearing, seconded by trustee Devlin. Mrs.
December
Seal,
9th?
December 9th, that work for you,
That's fine.
Attorney Egan? All right, so December 9th, our next meeting.
Is this as an enterprise or social? Can't do social. Gotta be an enterprise. We'll be in court again.
Well, hopefully this will be completely prohibited, so either one.
Yeah.
Okay, December 9th. I'd like to request approval to set a public hearing to consider renewing a one-year special permit for United Storage located at 257 Waverly Avenue. Motion?
Motion.
Is the applicant here?
Second.
No, we're just setting
We're
the
setting
hearing,
public-
Oh, I'm sorry.
but I will tell you that when they approached me, I did check with the building department, and they have been completely compliant for the last year, so there have been no issues.
Well, we have had issues.
We've had a few issues.
Yeah.
But
Nothing
compliant with
building.
regard to what their special permit terms are.
Yes. So we'll do it the same night?
Doesn't that should be fine?
Yeah. Okay, December 9th.
Second.
Second by trustee Devlin.
Got it?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Keys.
Don't you have one on your agenda?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you do.
You did.
What?
Public safety officer.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So it's page
Flip,
2.
flip to page 2.
Jeff, you need to borrow my.
I know, we're getting late.
Yeah.
I like the way you think about it.
It's
just a long one.
That's right. The parking space.
Twice he asked me to speak, nobody ever asked me to speak.
It's got the agenda.
I get the agenda, it's not on the agenda.
It's all
We're next week.
over there.
Yeah, but it's not on the agenda. Wow, I got a different agenda, I have an old one.
I don't even know where you got this from, though, because that didn't go here.
See, I wasn't wrong.
Okay.
I had it. I got
Okay.
the other agenda. How did I get that? I got it from you.
Oh, no, that wasn't complete. That wasn't, the one that went in your packet is the one that's complete. Let's just get rid of
I
this.
apologize. Yes, get rid of that. I didn't have much to do tonight. Request approval to accept the resignation of Public Safety Officer Chen Pratt effective November 11, 2013. Do we have a letter? from,
Actually, it was just a letter from,
Okay.
it was actually, we somewhat asked him to, he has a full-time job and wasn't able to
Was able to cover
fit
the hours.
his hours at
Okay.
all, so.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Request approval for Debbie Noom and Nancy Hour to attend the annual NYS Towns and Villages Conference for Court Clerks in New York City from February 16th to the 19th at a cost not to exceed $800 per person. Motion?
Second.
Second by trustee Devlin. All in favor? All approved. Request approval to award the bid for the roof replacement at the Patchogue Theater to Moore Contracting and Consulting Inc. in the amount of $314,000 as per the recommendation of Baldessano Architecture and Senior Building Inspector Peter Sarich, who reviewed all bid submissions. We're going to make a motion to do that, and look forward to seeing that new roof be put on the Patchogue Theater. It's going to really improve the look of the theater, number one. And number two, it's going to solve a great deal of problems that already exist with the current roof. And this roof has a 50-year guarantee. So I won't be around here to
Make sure it's.
make sure that a new roof has to be put on. And I thank Baldessano, I thank trustee Keys and trustee Dean and Pete Sarich for the work they're doing here, and look forward to get it started. So that's motion.
Second.
Second by trustee Keys. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
just that one last one, I want to public safety officer.
Okay. I'm confused.
No worries.
Oh, I got it.
Got a request here to hire Dylan Biggs and Edward Rich as new public safety officers. They're replacing
The gentleman that we
the
just.
gentleman who left,
And one last.
and one last month, Mr. Camacho, who left last month. And we want to make sure we get those positions filled, so we can make sure our village is safe for our residents and visitors. That's a motion,
Second.
seconded by trustee Ferb. All in favor? Opposed? None? Approved. Now I'm done. Trustees.
Before I forget, it's happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Hope you get home in time to put the turkey in the oven.
Oh,
Get
God.
we're going here. Actually, I'm very brief, and I'm sure you'll be relieved. One item, two items. I'm requesting approval to award the bid. You remember a couple of meetings ago, we went out to bid for the infrared asphalt heater. We received one bid back, and I guess that was just today, or
Yeah, the
just
opening
came
was
in. So
today.
there was only one bid that we received, so I'm requesting approval to award the bid, the infrared asphalt heater to Monte Calvo Asphalt Maintenance for $125 per hour.
It's a rent.
Rent. Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Request approval to hire Parkline Asphalt Maintenance, Inc. to supply and install high-intensity grade reflective signs and posts at a cost not to exceed $25,000. This is in conjunction with our meter project, and this would be for all the spaces on Main Street, South Ocean, and Railroad.
So, Joe, just talk about that a little bit. All the old signs are coming down?
Old signs are coming down, yes. There's actually, as it turns out, there's not really like an exorbitant amount being removed, but they're just kind of falling away. But these will be, there's 162 signs, I think, all told. Most will be going up onto the light poles and existing poles. I think about 35 of them new installations altogether. And they will explicitly detail the restrictions or requirements for the spots, on Main Street, what some are 15 minutes from 10 to 6, and then metered after that, like in front of the post office and places like that. Some are metered from, 15 minute free from 10 to 9, and then after 9 o'clock would be metered. So we left the 15 minutes open because those places where they have pickup and, like the Rose Coffee, the Olive Garden, the Olive Tree, pizza places, some of those in and out spots, we left them, during the daytime, they'll have 15 minutes free parking available so people can run in and pick their pie up and go home. And, but then after 6, and then when those business closes, then we'll revert to metered parking.
And all these signs will have a standard look to them, and
Yeah, I mean,
what we have now.
it's all
sort of
DOT specs and,
Yeah.
and 12 by 18, 12 by 6 are the small ones, and, so yeah, well, as per DOT spec. And that's a motion.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Tom Kerr. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Is that it, Jeff?
Is that it, Joe?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I'm just gonna discuss it.
Trustee Crean.
Good evening. Ron, with this additional expenditure for the signage, we'd really like to get an itemized expense sheet of all of our costs that have gone into the implementation of this metered parking program. And I'd like that to be shared with all the trustees, so as we are starting to collect revenue from these meters, that it goes back into our general fund and reimburses us for all of those costs before we start pooling this money for the expansion or maintenance of parking facilities. This is a rather costly endeavor that's being borne by the village taxpayer, and I want it to get reimbursed to us before we start looking to acquire any additional parking fields. All right, thank you. Just two brief items. As Dave Kennedy had made mention, I pulled the plug on the New Year's Eve celebration. It just seemed to be perhaps too many challenges. The greatest challenge being that there just wasn't enough time to pool all of the resources and get all of the commitments that we would need in order to make it a safe event. So, I appreciate your attendance, Jack, to some of those meetings. Your input's been, was very valuable, but it was just too apparent that we wouldn't have been able to pull it off in a fashion where I would have felt comfortable that we're going to safe event. We'll start early after, the holidays pass and start looking towards next year. So it's an exciting evening that I'm sure we'll have in the future next year. Hopefully it will be the first annual. Just wanted to share with the board that I do have a meeting set with the prospective buyers of Town Hall and the town's IDA department to try and explore what benefits may be awarded to the purchaser for potential purchases of equipment and construction materials on a tax-free basis, as well as possibly looking to get some abatements for the property taxes for the new owners of Town Hall. So it's going to be a rather costly rehabilitation of that property, and any assistance or economic benefits that we can provide will be much appreciated. So the mayor, myself, Jim Tullo, and John Caffrey will be meeting to just explore those benefits. So, and that's all I have for this evening.
Jared, how long has that building been vacant?
Almost 9 years. Stanley Allen, was the last occupant, and when I first entered the building, it looked like a neutron bomb went off. Everything was just left there, but nobody was there, Other than the dead squirrel that was in the corner, there was no other sign of anything there. But they left all the pencils and files and paperwork. It was just, but now that it's been fully abated of asbestos, it's just, it's ripe for redevelopment, and I'm anxious to get it deactivated. So
Is there any timeline on it, or?
They would like to close on the property probably in about three months from now. They're just finishing their pro forma on what their business plan would be. They have some additional due diligence regarding the engineering, but they're ready to close as soon as they're ready to get into contract. So
They'll hook up to our sewer?
for the use that they're going to be looking for, in all likelihood, they would look to connect to our sewage treatment plant. Even though that there's plenty of septic on site, being a medical arts building, they would in all likelihood be looking to look into the plant. So,
Look forward to having them, in the village.
yep, be a great addition. Yep.
Trustee Third.
Thanks, Chair. Wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a happy Hanukkah. The next time Hanukkah and Thanksgiving will happen on the same day as 79,000 years in the future. And that's all I have.
Is that on the Hebrew calendar?
Is that a fun
or-
fact?
Yeah.
Fun fact.
Is that for real?
It is.
Is that for real?
79,000 years in the future.
Snapple cap.
Wow. So prepare now.
Yeah.
Walk around.
Before I go to trustee,
So, yeah, be very brief.
trustee Devlin, I just want to make an announcement, the Toys for Tots donation, that the Village of Patchogue, in conjunction with the Long Island Village Clerks and Treasurers Association, is an official Toys for Tots collection site. please drop off an unwrapped new toy at Patchogue Village Hall, or our Recreation Center at 380 Bay Avenue, Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 4:30. Toys will be collected until Wednesday, December 11th. Your donations would be greatly appreciated. So if you have some toys to donate, please take them down to, bring them here or to the 380 Bay. Thank you.
Chamber office too, we have one at the
Chamber office too? Okay,
Are you
chamber
doing
office too.
toys for Tots?
Great.
We did town of Brook, it's
Yeah.
Toys for Tots, it's the town of Brookhaven, to me it's all the
Anytime
same.
you're giving toys for kids.
You give it to the
okay,
kids,
whether you're in
right.
the town of Brookhaven or the village, either one is good. in my-
Mine too.
Trustee
Thank
Dowd?
you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Krieger. I'll be very brief tonight and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and happy Hanukkah. Planning and zoning report, just want to let you know if you're interested, tomorrow night's planning board meeting is, the assisted living is back on the agenda, so if anybody's interested in seeing what the planning board is doing with that site plan, that's what will be going on. And other than that, my arts report, I'd just like to say, if you haven't had a chance to go down to the Patchogue Arts Council Gallery, the show that's up right now, Alternative Perspectives of Landscapes, is quite an excellent show. And I'd also like to report that Plaza Mac has raised the money that they needed to go digital, so they will be closed from Thanksgiving till Christmas to install the digital equipment and do some other work to add additional seating. So if you want to see anything, it's tonight or tomorrow, and then
How many seats are there?
I think they have 65 seats, and they're trying to reconfigure it to put 100 seats in because it changes the types of movies that they can get, as I understand. So there'll be a lot of construction going on for the next month, and then they hope to reopen, I'm not sure if it's Christmas Day or the day after. I think the day after Christmas they'll reopen, so, that's it.
They also have a wine license.
And they also have a wine license, yes. And I found it actually I'm glad you brought that up. So it's the Blue Velvet Lounge. Right now you can get a choice of a white, a dry white, a sweet white, or a red. That's it, just 3 wines. So yesterday afternoon was opera, and from what I understand, 8 glasses of wine were sold. And then the evening was
Were you the
comedy.
only one there, Laura?
No. No, but the first were there.
And we had 3 of them.
I wasn't gonna say that. But for comedy night last night, nobody had anything to drink.
They drank before they got there.
They brought their own beers.
So the opera crowd it seems a little more sophisticated, I suppose. Yeah, so, but that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Hill?
Yes, thank you, trustees and guests. Last Wednesday night was a proud night for the Parks Department and myself. The Cornell Cooperative Extension nominated and awarded Maria Justicia Volunteer of the Year Award for participation in the Family Health and Wellness Program. I'm just going to read this briefly because it's really a good overview of what we've done in the park with that program from Cornell. In 2012, the Family Health and Wellness Program area presented an opportunity for collaboration with Village Patchogue through our grant-funded initiative, Creating Healthy Places in Suffolk County. Since then, our collaborations with the village has grown from the establishment and cultivation of the Patchogue Planting Patch Community Garden to a newly installed playground just a few yards from the community garden on park property. Creating Healthy Places is presently planning with the village mayor and Recreation and Parks Director Maria Justicia 2 additional village park enhancements that will provide increased opportunities for community members to enjoy physical activities at their redesigned by Hurricane Sandy Shorefront Park. Since Sandy, their Shorefront Park has been rebuilt to include an amazing one-of-a-kind New York State pirate ship playground built with the outpouring of community support and leadership of the village mayor and the village Patchogue's Parks Director. Maria's energy and love for the work she does is evident at every meeting, every program, and every event. It is an honor to recognize Maria Justicia and the Parks and Recreation Department in the village of Patchogue as an outstanding volunteer. Maria's personal commitment and leadership to creating healthy places in the village of Patchogue is evident in the results of her endless ability to lead projects to fruition. And of that, we're very proud.
Very nice.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you did the Toys for Tots. That's good. And, let's go in order here. Yes, the bocce ball courts. That'll be over here. Thanksgiving Day weekend. We still allowed to say Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay, Thanksgiving Day weekend, turkey shoot putting contest, right? I mean, it's great.
Nothing bad.
Right, it's the morning before the parade, November 30th, $5 entry fee, bring your children, adults, men and women, and just putt to your delight. The proceeds are going to the Patchogue Medford Youth Community Services, and so that should be something that's just
What do you win?
I don't know. It's a mystery. You win a parade that night. Christmas parade, Christmas holiday parade, Saturday, November 30th.
You get to lead the parade.
Yes. 6 p.m. on Main Street. I don't have to say anything. It's a great, great parade. Kids, bring your letters to Santa. And I just continuing to report on the bocce ball courts in Father Tutora Park. We've been told that with God's speed, they will be installed by the new year. And that's all I have for tonight.
Great, thank you very much. Attorney Egan, anything more?
I'm done, no, I've
Done?
spoken enough here.
Never.
Public to be heard. George?
I just had a question about the, oh, I'm sorry.
So now that we have a parking revenue stream, what's the timetable for building the parking?
It depends on when that revenue stream starts coming in.
Well, I think we gotta do the parking first. If you're paying for the parking, you have to actually have it.
Yeah, we are looking into a number of properties around the village parking lots currently, and hopefully be able to give you more information on that soon.
Yeah, I just don't wanna see a situation where you wait until the fund gets huge before you start thinking about it. I mean, I see a situation, somebody paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for park, and then still not have it.
Yeah, no, we're actively pursuing various places.
Next meeting.
Are you getting appraisals and such on properties?
Yes. Yeah.
And we have the plan from Roush.
Yeah, and we have Roush Foundation doing a plan on a parking structure too, possible parking structure. I think we're looking at that next week, right?
Are we?
I think so, yeah.
I saw a preliminary a few weeks ago. You don't?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And we're actively working on that.
Good, thank you.
Yes, Jim?
I just had a question about the Old Town Hall building. I know the town gave it to the village, and does the village still own it? Okay, so all of the proceeds from the sale will go to the town?
They have a,
They did all the renovation and they did the asbestos, I know.
right,
They took
yeah,
us-
they had a bonded that abatement to remove all the
Right.
asbestos. So they still have a bond outstanding that
Okay,
is backed by their general fund. So it's not linked to the property per se, but the proceeds from the sale of Old Town Hall will be escrowed to service that debt. So the village won't be getting anything out of the sale of that other than an additional lot that the community might be able to use,
okay.
and then the services that the business will provide.
And they will have a tax abatement? Did I hear you say that?
That is something that we are going to look at, and it would be up to the town's IDA board whether or not they would determine if that's a justifiable award. So, there's certain criteria that they would need to meet in order to be awarded that tax abatement, and it would be up to the town's IDA board to determine that.
Well, it will be nice to have that building in use. That's a beautiful building.
It's
And
got
just-
great bones to
Yeah.
it, and it's very structurally sound, it's just, it needs a little care, that's for sure.
It's too bad that, for example, Stony Brook, which has a primary care unit here in Patchogue, wasn't interested in that building. Maybe it was just too big for them, but they have quite a number of patients that they see over on Oak Street.
Yeah, there's a need for that use, need for that service to be
Yes.
provided, or that amenity to be provided to the community, so, of all the potential uses that they've explored, they feel that's the most economically feasible. So, I think it would be a great use.
You've worked on that a long time,
And it's been very challenging, I'm very excited about
yeah.
the prospects right now, so, keep my fingers crossed.
Mr. Bojack?
Just one very quick question. The $314,000 for the theater roof, the 50-year roof, which I pray will be 50 years too, where did that come from, the money?
That's Village of Patchogue.
Is it from the general fund?
Yes.
Right.
Surplus, I'm sorry, surplus.
The surplus.
Surplus, yeah.
Okay, so no bonding, it's just gonna be straight out of the surplus fund?
I believe the mayor is intending on banning this.
Yeah.
So I bet. What did you say, bonding?
Banning.
Possible.
Banning?
Just on anticipation.
On anticipation note.
Oh, okay, so that's a term enough in
It's
later.
5 to 7 years.
So it would be like a bonding.
We're talking about it, we know.
I'm a little confused, like, you're taking the money from the general fund, why are we do it, there's another step thereafter?
Take care, George.
Oh, just let it happen, okay.
Coming out of surplus, you bond it, and good night, put it back to the surplus.
Night, Gail. Good night.
Good night.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Just like
Happy
mortgaging it
Thanksgiving.
later.
Yeah.
Just like what?
Like mortgaging it later, you buy a house for cash, then you decide to take the home equity out. So we get it back
Okay.
when we ban it, and then you pay interest for 5 to 7 years.
Okay, and.
But it's an option, we
It's an option.
And,
make our decision.
okay, I think I understand. That's better than the other resolution before. This question of ownership of the Old Town Hall came up because I read the Long Island Advance article, and it said that technically the village owned the building. And I think, I read that and I said, if technically the village owned the building, why is Brookhaven Town getting any of the money? But that's not the case.
Yeah, no. I mean, the advance, the way they wrote it is correct. When the property was originally, it was originally donated to the village in the 1920s. And the village had it, and the town of Brookhaven was looking for a town hall. So the village donated it to the town of Brookhaven, Mayor Edmund Bellman, as a matter of fact, who got front on the picture, in 1920s. Because he's got the best picture of his house front. I haven't seen what this guy looks like. We're living with his signature and his consequences of what he signed. So he gave the building to the board, and Mayor Bellman gave the town hall to the town for use as a municipal building for as long as it was serviced as a municipal building.
Okay.
We held that reverter clause, and that's why the resolution tonight, one of the issues of what consideration, if any, we would get out of the reverter clause, if it was no longer used for a municipal building, which it certainly is now not going to be used for, would it revert to the village? And one of the steps the town needed us to take was to make the resolution tonight to say, we're waiving our reverter interest, go ahead and sell the building to a third party.
So we do own it, and we are letting it happen.
Well, we're not title owners. So that's why the advance article was correct. We're not really title owners. We have a reverter interest in the deed. The title owner to the property is the town of Brookhaven.
Okay, so they have the title, and we always did. Okay, thanks.
So if we wanted the building for use of the village, for municipal use, we would be able to take it.
Sure, and that was one of the concepts of the original negotiation many, many years ago, almost 10 years ago, was to have the village take it over and have it. That's what it was called.
Until we realized the cost
Close
of
to fortune.
doing that.
The number for, the last number that we heard on the asbestos abatement is almost 2 times what the purchase price was, right? Now, still outstanding, I think it's.
It was about 1.2 million just to abate the
Yeah.
asbestos. So So it,
Yeah, I imagine there's still a lot of work should be done to renovate that. I mean, I've been in it, so it's not like it's clean and,
It probably needs like $2 million worth of renovation.
it depends if, I mean, if we were to do the renovation, it would be a lot more expensive. But it's stripped to the joists and the studs at this point, you know. So all of the mechanicals need to be replaced, everything needs to be redone.
what I realize is it's a lot bigger when you're in it than it seems on the outside. It's got so many rooms and,
Be like 12, not including the basement.
yeah, it's big.
Are they gonna look into any federal historic preservation tax credits? Because those are available, but it depends on how they're gonna do their renovation.
That's
They
something
might
that.
recommend it to them.
Yeah.
They look into
Any
it.
other comments from public? Furman?
Yeah. I'll try and be brief.
Why should you be different from us?
With reference to the theater, well, let's stay on the town hall first. Since we had a right of reverter, there was no possibility that we could have gained any consideration out of the surrendering of that right of reverter?
We talked about that.
And
But
the
based
town-
upon,
And a deaf ear?
well, based upon the expense that the town had in removing the asbestos, to even make that building even remotely marketable, the concept was that we would allow the town, because they're still gonna be upside down in their construction, to take their renovation budget, to take the purchase price and allow us to have the parking lot across the way developed.
Sounds like the Indians had your horses before you got to the table. All right, with reference to the theater on the roof, I'm probably the only one in the BID that objected to the situation with the mayor deciding that it's gonna be that metal roofing that goes on here instead of the architectural shingles. As soon as you had
I
the
think the board actually decided, not just the mayor.
Yeah, I don't think so.
yeah, well, my understanding was the mayor's one that decided, and then the board decided
Well,
later.
I think you're misunderstanding.
Yeah, it's not just a mayor, it's,
Conspiracy.
No.
Conspiracy, here we go.
Didn't we have a professional recommendation?
yeah, we all went over that.
Yeah, well, what my concern is that as soon as you went to that format, the most expensive roofing you could put on there, which promises to give you a life of 50 years, but I'm not sure about that. I do know that you survived pretty well the situation with Hurricane Sandy. You didn't lose too many shingles up there that are there now. You've got enough slope to still do another roof with the architectural shingles. You could have saved probably about 60% of what you're spending now. And you've also pretty much eliminated most of the majority of potential bidders that you could have had to do that job. So my curious question now is, how many bids were submitted for that roof?
Mr. Joe? Three bids?
I think it was 12.
Well, there were
was
12,
quite a few bids.
there were 12 or 13 people that picked up the packets. I believe it was 3 or 4 that actually bid the job.
So for $300,000 you're doing here,
14.
$314,000 job, you only had 3 bids?
3 or 4?
Yeah. Okay. Now, camera system in the village. According to Mr. Ferg, we have 21 privately owned cameras that are on Main Street at South Ocean Avenue.
It's probably more than that, Joe.
Really?
Yeah, the inventory that Dennis did 2 years ago identified 21 not privately owned, including the library and theater. There's 8 in the theater, I think there's 8 in the library. But if you walk down Main Street, there are cameras everywhere.
And my final question is, I know I'm really trying to update what you advised us at the last BID meeting. How are we coming as far as connecting those systems together?
We, Dennis and I had some folks in from Huntington Station, and we walked the village together. And we identified a subset of cameras that are technologically appropriate, meaning we don't have to replace the cameras, that have DVRs that are internet ready, And we're gonna get a bid for 5 locations, which is gonna come to the bid, and we'll take a look at it. So we're making progress.
Is
But-
Chamber of Commerce gonna participate in this at all?
Who was that?
Chamber of Commerce?
I expect that we'll ask, we wanna go slowly, okay? I mean, if we can connect 5 locations for a few $1,000s, we should probably do that. And then extend out from there. It looks, I mean, we haven't had a discussion since we had this walkthrough.
Yeah, why only 5 locations when you have access to?
Well, it's
all-
pretty amazing what one camera can cover. See, to cover Main Street from, let's say, Hoshi to Parabel, can be done with 2 cameras. 2 cameras.
I'm sorry.
But,
Just in time.
That's me.
so, Dennis got an email probably within the last 5 days from the technology people, and saying they were gonna get back to us. And we'll talk about this at the bid.
Yeah, the sooner the better. As I've said, I don't know if it's been repeated here, but speaking with Ronnie at Patchogue Plate and also Clearview Plate, Patchogue says they've replaced 22 windows, storefront windows on Main Street and South Ocean Avenue within the past year.
Where's that? Oh, I see.
Talking about windows being
Okay.
crunched by, these
I thought
families.
you meant one business.
No, not just one business, I'm talking about 22. I've lost 6 windows in the past year. Oh, yeah, it's getting pretty, and the last one that we just put in, it was a big one. So of course, we put the mullet bar in and broke it down to 2. Within a couple of days, they've been etched. So I gotta replace them again. And then, well, like I said, 22 replaced by Patchogue Plate, 15 by Clearview Plate, so that's 37 windows.
Do you have cameras on it?
I have cameras on my building, yeah. Unfortunately, the camera system that was installed by our friend that's been doing a lot of the areas here, from Huntington, he never gave me a hard drive, so I had no memory. And, all this time, trying to figure what's wrong with the system.
He retired.
Yeah, he retired, he's in North Carolina right now.
And all the money he made on those hard drives you never got.
Well, I've installed another camera system that I picked up at Costco inside, looking through the windows out. So I've got coverage outside and inside. Anyway, so is there anything to report as far as any of these vandals being detained or?
I haven't heard anything, have you?
I haven't heard much in the way of even vandalism recently, so no.
They reported to the Suffolk County Police Department or reported to the village, this vandalism?
Usually both.
Oh, sure, I've reported just about everything that's
Now, we
happened
haven't
in my
had
buildings,
anything
but
recent.
I'm sorry?
No, I was talking to Officer Costello behind
Oh,
me.
okay.
So that no.
Are you aware of anything?
No, I haven't seen any reports, and usually we get the memos put in our box, I didn't see any.
Well, I filed 4 reports.
With the village?
No, not with the village, I don't bother with the village anymore. You gotta wait a half hour for your code enforcement to come by. I mean, in 10 minutes, I'm down at 5th Precinct, and I get a desk officer, and I get a report in right away. So it's a waste of time to file anything with the village, and all they give you, if you're lucky, is a CC number, and then you gotta come back and pick a report up at another date. I've never been able to get a police report from the village, so I've given up on that. And it's just storage for the next librarian, really.
So,
Anyway,
they're not
yeah.
police.
I'm sorry?
The village people are not police.
I realize that,
Okay.
so it's a waste of time to do anything with code enforcement. Now, as far as code enforcement is concerned, since we're
But you're
close
asking
to
the
the
question of the
retired.
village as to what we know, but if you don't let us know, we can't know. So that, it is important to report to us, whether you think it's a waste of time or not.
Well, I've done it in the past, and there's been no feedback as concerned. So, since you
Your choice.
can't enforce anything, it's up to the Suffolk
It's
County
still
Police.
important for the village to know, so that we can, in conjunction with the 5th precinct,
Well, I'm not gonna get into
your
that.
choice.
Code enforcement, how many do we have on the payroll now?
Oh my goodness, 17, 18? now we got two, probably about 17, they're all part-time.
Part-time.
Okay, and no one is full-time, they're all part-time?
The only person who's full-time is our parking enforcement officer.
And as far as being on active duty, what do we have, two that are on all the time now, 24 hours?
It depends on this,
Yeah.
the day and weekends, it's a little more than during the day. I'd say 2, 3 guys on.
Is there any way we can double that to like 4, or is that out of the question with the budget?
At this point, I think it's out of the question with the budget, but parking meter, what we're gonna be making out of the parking meter is gonna be able to afford us more money to bring more parking enforcement officers on during the day.
What are we paying for salary for these guys, about 17, 20?
Well, we just hired two new, $16.25 an hour.
Starting.
Okay, so that's a fair price. Parking lot in Church Street, is that gonna be our first quadrant, that's gonna be the focus for a parking deck?
It is one of the locations that they're looking into with the design with Roush.
What's Roush saying about 8 dumpsters that are taking up 9 parking spaces
That's
back there?
part of that's gotta be part of whatever the solution is, what to do with those. We were thinking of considering trash compactor. We have can I talk about that easement? That easement in the back going to Church Street. That kind of continues from the starting of the walkway all the way straight through. We have that easement between the two houses that we're thinking of possibly putting in a trash compactor in that space out of the parking lot, and the trucks would access by Church Street.
So we'll pick up 9 parking spaces at $15,000 a piece, I know.
About that,
Yeah,
for free.
yeah, for free. That's been a long time coming. If you consolidate it into one huge compactor and have them maybe pick it up once a day instead of once a week, would eliminate a tremendous eyesore and also traffic accidents. That's becoming the gauntlet. Anytime you're trying to go east to get out of the parking lot, and if there's anything going on for it, forget about it. The only hope you have of getting out of there is going out Church Street, or if you're really in a bind, which I've seen probably about 50% of the cars are even going out South Ocean Avenue. They didn't even bother trying to find any other way. At the ID meetings, I keep asking the same question, when are we gonna get some signs directing people to the exits for that parking lot? And the answer's been as soon as we restrike the parking lot. Well, it's been restriped, if I believe, so.
No,
It's not been restriped?
No,
Okay.
it's,
Crack
they
fill.
just filled the cracks.
Oh, they filled the cracks?
In
Okay.
anticipation of.
So the last thing that's gonna happen there is signs directing people how to get out of the parking lot.
Next spring,
I hope that's still alive. Yeah, it's a sad situation, really. I would think that would be a highly classified situation that would require immediate attention. An exit, even out of a building, is a necessary evil. And an exit out of a parking lot, when you've got 130 available parking spaces and 150 people looking for parking, it's like watching a wagon train, and the Indians are feeding on us.
All right, Joe, can we look into that, Joe?
Sure
Get some exit signs.
That would eliminate a lot of confusion, and maybe 50% of the people that are departing through onto South Ocean Avenue might think twice about violating that no exit sign. I think that's about it. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'd all like to be home with a clicker in our hand and feet up by the fireplace. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Happy holiday, Joe.
You too.
Anybody else? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Adjourn.
What do I get again? This,
From this side, hit the red.
I can't say, oh, the red.